Welcome to Annunciation Radio's Faith with Reasons, the program that examines what the church teaches and why. Faith with Reasons.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to Faith with Reasons. So glad to have you along on this Wednesday. We are getting close to the 4th of July. Wow. Ron Finn and Shayne Stanfield here. Shayne, you got big plans for Independence Day?
I wouldn't say that they're big. I know the family's got little things here and there. I know visiting friends with, and friends are visiting friends, and I know the girls are intending to spend time with their newfound boyfriends. There's always fireworks. There's all sorts of stuff, little stuff here and there, but no travel plans, staying at home for the most part.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, I think so.
And, of course, summertime, we got the windows open. We hear the motorcycles out there. That's always nice.
Yeah, that's for sure. For those that don't know, our air conditioning unit here in the studio is pretty noisy, and it can be heard in the background. So we like to shut that off right before airtime and open up the windows. And as long as it's not 105 outside, it generally works out pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my! So what's new with you? What's going on? You got any big projects underway?
No.
I'll tell you what. We haven't been able to connect with our guest yet.
Yeah.
Mike McCartney, but I'm gonna give him another college try here. Mm-hmm. And you got anything you can share while I'm dialing?
Well, I'm not really sure. I know the projects around the house have quieted down, which is a good thing. For our longtime listeners, went through a major renovation on the house, and finally that's all settled down. I retired in November, so my honey-do list is in the last 8 months has dwindled down, which is nice. So I'm on a glide right now, which I'm quite thankful for. Looking to get into something else. We'll see what that's going to be, but I am enjoying life, and it's given me an opportunity to reflect a lot about on my faith. But more importantly, I've come to the realization that I can't stand not having a job. After working for 37 years, it's been difficult. To get to the point where I'm not doing anything. So that's a little unnerving for me. I'm not a type of person that's going to sit back and spend the rest of my life on the beach, that's for sure.
Mike McCartney is our guest here on Faith with Reasons. Now, I know Mike pretty well. He's an executive coach who helps successful people become better leaders. Clients range from leaders in Fortune 500, C-suites to family-owned businesses. Mike and his wife, Molly, are members of the Genesis chapter of Legatus, and they've been married for 46 years, 7 grown children. Mike served on the Legatus National Board of Governors and is a graduate of the Ohio State University. And back in the day, I can't wait to ask him about this, Mike was a pro rodeo athlete. What do you think of that, Shayne?
I would like to hear about that.
This is probably the very first time on Faith with Reasons we've had a former pro rodeo athlete on the air with us. Mike McCartney, welcome to Faith with Reasons. Thanks for joining us today.
Ron and Shayne, thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Well, I know you're doing a lot of great work for a lot of great folks, and I think it's great that there is a resource like yours out there, and I know we want to talk about Legatus today, but I just want to talk about McCartney coaching for a moment too, because it's kind of all encompassing. You're reaching a lot of people, and it's on their terms. But we'd love to hear a little more about that and your website and what you do with coaching.
Yeah, thank you. So the coaching really. Once I left my full-time corporate job at the Andersons, I just always kind of wanted to be on my own. And when I thought about coaching, I thought I've been doing a lot of that over the years in my various roles as a leader at the Andersons. So I went and got some certifications, some training, and it allows me to do work I really love to do, that is help successful people be better leaders. And I'm using it now, my background in coaching, in working with the young Catholic professionals in developing some mentoring programs.
That's fascinating. Now, how long have you been doing this? Once again.
Well, I've been a full-time executive coach for about almost 20 years, 15 years, probably 18 years.
So obviously plenty of time to become well-known in this. And I see here in your bio, obviously leaders in Fortune 500 firms. Some of these industries, is it wide-ranging, or do you specialize in certain areas?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. It really, to be a good executive coach, you have to be able to adapt to the leader, him or herself. But some industries, I had a background in agriculture, so there were some people that would learn of me through various agricultural connections. But I've had probably more non-agricultural leaders that I have coached. So I think what it takes to be a good coach would allow you to be effective in any industry.
Absolutely. And just a little bit more about you and your background, especially as it relates to your Catholic faith. Now, I know you mainly because we share the same faith and our paths cross from time to time. But take us back a little bit. Give us a little bit of the background as it relates to the faith.
Yeah, thank you. So, Ron, I grew up in a very devout Catholic family. I had great parents. I was one of 9, and all of my siblings are active and devout Roman Catholics. So I was blessed to be in a good family to really help me, in addition to the great example set by my parents that helped form me. And anybody from a big family know that your siblings are very influential in your development, in your formation as well. So, and then when I thought about what I wanted to do for my living, or what I could do for my living, I knew I wanted to help people. I know that sounds trite, but I think that just most people want to help people. We just find different ways to do it. And for me, when I looked at what I thought I was good at and enjoyed doing, it was coaching. So I thought I can bring my Catholic faith to that space. And for those who are not Catholic but Christian, we can still connect there. And for those even who aren't or don't want to talk about Christianity, I can still connect there, because so much of my faith informs my coaching. And there is so much rich tradition in the history of our church that is about good leadership development. The church had a lot at stake in developing good leaders. And I mean, you look what the church has done and the examples we have in our saints. So I just knew that I wanted to be able to do something that allowed me to integrate my faith and my work. And coaching allows me to do that.
I'll tell you, that becomes the perfect balance, because we know, what gifts or what graces we've been given. We know others have been given graces. And I think it's a great point that you make, that most of us want to do something that better, benefits mankind, that it helps other people, that we need to find ways to reach out to others and make an impact in their lives. That's a powerful way to do that. There are subtler ways as well, obviously. But our faith in being imbued in us really kind of draws us closer and closer to our fellow man, don't you think?
Oh, exactly. I mean, God is glorified when we do our jobs well, whatever the work is. And ideally, we all know that we want to find something that we enjoy doing, that we take pride in, that we can do in and of itself. Just it is satisfying and enjoyable to do. Unfortunately, not everybody finds that. I found that in my coaching work. I really had it often also in my role as a leader, but I've enjoyed the coaching and the development part of that more than I did ever as a business leader. But what I enjoyed most about being a business leader was developing my people. So that's what helped me see that, okay, I want to get better at that. I really want to get good at that. I want to be good enough at that others want to recommend me to other people. So God be praised. I truly enjoy what I do. And that's why I'm 69 years old and I'm still working, and I have no reason to stop now.
Yeah,
that's great.
Mike McCartney is our guest here on Faith with Reasons. And I want to ask you, a lot of folks say that they're a little reticent, a little shy about bringing their faith into the workplace. That's something that I do on Sunday. That's something that I do personally, and I don't want people to, be offended by me talking, the Bible or anything at work. But integrating your faith with your business, what would you say to someone who tries to separate the two instead of integrating the two?
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I think that is, first of all, I take very seriously. I think from Colossians, woe to me if I do not preach the gospel. So that doesn't mean we stop, after the work week. We got to bring it into the workplace, to the marketplace. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about Legatus later on, but that's precisely why Tom Monahan founded Legatus. Mm-hmm. And I think that the way someone can bring their work, integrate their faith at work, learn about somebody else's faith. And by that, I mean, when you meet somebody at work, just ask them, instead of you evangelizing or trying to convert them or to believe anything about you, just find out more about them. Where do they go to church? What do they believe? And then just explore their journey wherever they are in a walk in life. Even if they're an atheist, you could explore where that comes from. Were your mom and dad atheists? It's just there's so much to learn about other people. And when you start asking questions and show interest in other people, it's an opportunity to respect them. And that seems to be almost a universal. Everybody wants to respect other people. Everybody wants to be respected. Just to be present with them and show an interest in them and learn as much as you can about them. And God is glorified in doing that. And in the process, you have an opportunity that hopefully they might ask you something about your faith. But if they don't, you'll have an opportunity at some point to tell them a little bit about your journey, your faith, what you believe. But in the beginning, I think it's always good just to ask questions about them, their faith, what they believe in and how they worship. Maybe just as simple as where they go to church.
Have you found any of your clients? Obviously, coaching. They've come to you. They're looking at some sort of an advancement in their career, perhaps, or they want to grow in a certain way. And you're sitting back and you're looking at these clients. Have you ever found that a lot of it is a lack of a spiritual sense or purpose in their life? And would you take that opportunity, or have you taken those opportunities to bring a spiritual component into their life to help them with their growth and their development?
Yeah, Shayne, thank you. Most people will recommend me or call me to do coaching for them because of either my Catholic background, or they know that I do integrate my faith and my coaching. So they would, by word of mouth, they would have heard that. Mm-hmm. But and I forget what the first part of your question was there.
Well,
remind me.
If there's clients that have come to mind, or that you know of that were truly lacking a spiritual path in their life, and it was your recognition of it that actually helped them, made that part of their development.
Actually, here's what I have found: successful people, their faith seems to be, whatever their faith is. I mean, they come from different denominations,
Sure.
obviously, but successful people tend to have a strong faith, a strong belief system, and they're pretty clear about that. To be a successful leader, they have to believe in something beyond themselves. I mean, that's what makes a good leader. That they are clear about their core values, about what they believe. And for me, that's my faith. I find most successful people have a devout prayer life.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. And the only reason why I asked is, we live in such a secular culture, and we see how corporations and big businesses behave these days, and it seems to reflect anything but good, strong religious values or Christian values. And
Shayne, and I think that's precisely why a lot of leaders are hesitant to integrate their faith and their work.
Yep.
They're afraid. They don't think they can speak up. Yep. They don't think they can make any kind of statements. Sometimes it's as simple as me saying something to somebody like, God bless, or signing all my emails with a God bless. And people pick up on that. There's a hunger for it. Yeah. People appreciate it. And if they're offended by it, well, too bad.
Too bad.
Well, it is that woe to me if I do not preach the gospel. I take that very seriously. And there's ways to do that very tactfully, but it is our responsibility to spread the faith, to call people to know Jesus more deeply, wherever they are. And if they don't know him, that's a challenge. I mean, all of us can be really good with someone who's already in the heart of the church or is a strong Christian. How do we do with those people that need to be brought there? That's often the challenge. I've had a few in my life, and it's limiting in our relationship unless they show an interest to come to know the Lord, their maker, in a very personal way.
And sometimes the things that you're not saying, but you're exuding or showing, can be very powerful as well. You can't ignore a joyful person. If you're spreading the gospel with, in a joyous way, and you have just a basic joy about you, that's attractive. People can see that contrast between the joyful person and the person who feels like they're just a slave to drudgery, for example. So not only doing it, but how you do it is important as well, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, how you go about something is so important. And I think you were just speaking there really about the smile on our face. I think there are many quotes from Mother Teresa where she talks about something as simple as smiling at another person. It changes the temperature of your connection to that individual. So I try to do that all the time. And I think people just respond favorably to that. Sometimes people don't know how to handle that, but that's on them, not me. I got to make sure that I truly try to see the face of Jesus in everybody that I meet. And smiling is one way to do that.
Oh, yeah, amen. So we probably should start to move into Legatus, and for those of our audience that don't know anything about it, what is it? How was it started? You mentioned Tom. Maybe we start there and go into how it's grown, and we can talk about the local chapter and what you do.
Yeah. So Tom Monahan founded Legatus back in 1980s, 83, I think, to really help to bring faith and work together, to integrate Catholic business leaders. And Tom was a part of an organization called YPO, YPO, Young Professional Organization. Yeah. It was for successful business leaders who were at the top of the company, and he wanted to bring them together because he knew they shared common interests, common challenges, common problems, but he wanted to do it in a Catholic setting. So that's why he started Legatus. Legatus is, I think the word can be found in one of St. Paul's letters. It means ambassador. It's the Latin word for ambassador.
Interesting.
And it was Father Mike Scanlon, who was the president at the time at Franciscan University of Steubenville, who actually, Tom was on the board there. And when Tom told Father Mike about his idea to start this organization for Catholic business leaders, Father Mike said, it's a great idea. You got to have a really good Catholic name. How about something Latin? How about ambassador? Legatus. It means ambassador in Latin. So that's where the name came from.
Interesting. And Legatus is headquartered today in Domino Farms, the complex that Tom Monahan built there in Ann Arbor. So, and chapters do come together. I mean, they do kind of share. There's a bunch of chapters, obviously, and you were part of one of the original ones, one of the oldest ones, right?
That's correct. Our chapter here in Toledo is called the Genesis chapter. Actually, it's a bit of a misnomer, but that's a story I won't go into. But just on Legatus, we do no fundraising. There's no special projects. It's strictly for the business executive and their spouses to come together on a monthly basis to study, live, and practice their Catholic faith. That's it. Study, live, and practice the Catholic faith, and to take that into the marketplace. That's why Legatus exists. So our sole responsibility is to become better Catholics, to take very seriously our baptismal oath, commitments, and to truly live our faith to its fullest, and to integrate our faith with our work, so that we are. And Tom started it because, and Legatus, is legatus.org is the website. One does have to qualify to be in Legatus. It's not just about being in business. You have to be at a certain level of a certain size company to qualify to be in Legatus. And Tom's reasoning behind that was that there are pressures that the guys running the company have that individuals in the organization don't have. And he wanted to create an opportunity for those kind of leaders to come together and share their concerns, support each other, encourage each other, challenge each other to be better Catholics in the marketplace.
So you mentioned this was founded by Tom in 1980. What was the date?
83?
83?
I think it's 83, yeah.
1983. So it was right there in the Ann Arbor area. Are you aware of how quickly it grew? Was there a desire to start spreading this across the country, or did it reside there for quite some time?
I don't know about those. Yeah, thank you, Shayne. I don't know about the early years, what the growth rate was, but I can tell you today, most major cities in the country, we have about 100 chapters, close to it.
Wow.
So most of the major metro areas have a Legatus chapter. Coast to coast, and they all come together once a month to every Legatus chapter meeting begins with the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, and the bishop is the chaplain unless he delegates it because of a busy schedule to someone else. Monsignor Michael Billion has been our chaplain since we've been a chapter from our inception. And that goes back to, I can't remember when our chapter, we were one of the first chapters. Legatus actually began in Detroit. That was its birthplace. Mm-hmm. But there was a strong Toledo contingency. Bob Savage was one of those individuals that were going up to Detroit And so Detroit began to get big enough. It formed its own chapter. Ann Arbor formed its own chapter. And then Toledo said, well, we'll be the Genesis chapter. So that's how we are the only chapter that I know of, the Genesis chapter, that has a name, a title different than the city that it hails from.
So is there, and we're getting really close to the break, and we may pick it up on the other side, Mike. But is as far as the function of the group, you're obviously getting together to live and practice your faith first and foremost. But is there, for somebody that's going into this, not only to grow their faith and helping themselves integrate their faith with their business, this network of individuals, is there some sort of training, or is it basically just word of mouth on trying to dig through issues in that faith business integration?
So in part of being in Legatus includes ideally also being in a chapter forum, and that is simply a small group, by definition, a small group, let's say single digit, like 7 people who come together on a monthly basis to really sharpen each other's iron. And it's where you can discuss very personal, private issues, business issues, all under the seal of confession, we call it, with unbending confidentiality, that nothing will leave that room that said, because there could be some very damaging comments made about, if ever got out, about each other's businesses.
Yeah.
So we adhere to that very strongly. But in those sessions, in a forum session, you truly sharpen each other's iron. You learn so much about how to be a good leader. You have to listen. You have to share from experience. And I think just practicing being a good listener. Nobody cannot continue to try to practice to be a better leader, a better listener.
Amen. We do have to take a little break. Our guest again, Mike McCartney Coaching, and of course from Legatus. Check it out at legatus.org. We'll take this break. We'll be right back and continue this discussion.
Every day, abortion affects the lives of thousands of women, but for every woman affected, there's a man who has also lost a child. Too often, we as men don't think we can feel hurt or sadness over this loss, but there is help and there is hope. If you or someone you know has experience with abortion, please reach out to the Joseph Ministry at 419-299-6660 or visit CatholicCharitiesNWO.org for more information. God wants you to return to Him and to experience the love and mercy that is waiting as His beloved Son.
Greetings in Christ Jesus, everyone. This is Bishop Daniel Thomas of the Diocese of Toledo here with a word about our annual Catholic Appeal. Together for Good is the theme and mission of the 2025 ACA, reminding all of us that together we can build up the kingdom and share the gospel good news. Countless lives, folks, are touched by every contribution to the annual Catholic Appeal. Children, students, seminarians, the elderly, the sick, the aged, the needy, they all depend on our generosity. Faith, hope, and love come alive through the annual Catholic Appeal. How appropriate in this great Jubilee year as Pilgrims of Hope. Please be generous in making your pledge at your parish or visit acatoledo.org. Let's all work together for good.
Life is messy and difficult. Our home is a place where we yearn most for spiritual rest. It is no exception to the messiness of life. To bring more peace and comfort to your home, consider the enthronement of the Sacred Heart in your home. Enthronement to the Sacred Heart of Jesus is a conscious decision to place Jesus at the center of your life and home. To enthrone your home to the Sacred Heart, go to welcomehisheart.com. That's welcomehisheart.com.
Now, back to Faith with Reasons here on Annunciation Radio.
Hey, welcome back here. Shayne Stanfield with Ron Finn, and today we're blessed to have Mike McCartney. He's an executive coach who helps successful people become better leaders. Clients range from leaders in Fortune 500 C-suites to family-owned businesses. Mike and his wife, Molly, are members of the Genesis chapter of Legatus, which we're discussing today. They've been married 46 years and have 7 grown children. Mike served on the Legatus National Board of Governors. He's a graduate of The Ohio State University, and back in the day, he was a pro rodeo athlete. And we still have to reserve some time to talk about your rodeo past there, Mike. So, but we were discussing, basically the structure of these chapters, and you're basically a series of small groups, and these small groups, just to recap the bottom of the previous half hour. It's more of a personal forum. You're able to discuss sometimes very personal things with one another, and it could be the workings of the business. And really, my comment to that seems like an excellent way to for one to open up and share, because it's one thing to be part of a larger group and not speak to anybody and only get something out of it, based on a speaker or something like this. But if you're actually dealing with a small group or just a very small number of people, the environment tends to open folks up. Mike?
We lost him. Let me try him again.
All right.
We lost the connection. And as we look at the website, legatus.org, standing at the intersection of faith and business is where we're at with this.
Yeah.
So, you can't beat that.
So the website, once again, legatus.org. If you want to encourage our listeners to go out and to check this out, they really do great things. But I do notice there's a section here for articles, and the articles seem very, very interesting. Basically highlighting individuals. They may have been speakers in these various groups. Some of these folks are life reoriented leaderships. Did you get them?
Yeah,
sounds like we're reconnected here. Yes.
Yeah, we're talking about the chapter meetings, and
yes,
and you have now, especially when it's Shayne was making the point that a smaller group makes it a little easier to open up and have discussions. Where if you're part of just some huge chapter, for example, or a big group, you might be a little more reticent to speak out, or you might not have the opportunity to. So as we stand at the intersection of faith and business, as it says on the legatus.org website, we're really kind of united in faith, but also as it tends to inspire us in our business and kind of drive our moral compass.
Yes, exactly. And that's why we have forums, because our chapter meetings, which we have monthly, also monthly, they're more social. We have Mass, yes, the greatest event on the planet, but it's a social event for the members. But in a forum, you can have those intimate conversations that you would never have in a social setting, even at a chapter meeting. It just doesn't lend itself to that. And the whole issue of confidentiality underpins the forum meeting. People have to know that whatever is said in that meeting will never leave that meeting under any circumstances. So the forum setting, anybody who's interested, if they just check out the qualifications around the Legatus website about how one might qualify to be in Legatus, and then if you're in Legatus, to take a good look at joining a forum, because that's where the real development comes from. That's where you really get the benefit of being a Legatus member. is in a forum.
So you have a chapter meeting that you indicated that's monthly. Your forum meeting is also monthly. Do they coincide with one another, or are they held on separate dates? In other words,
they're held on separate dates. So the chapter meeting is once a month. It always begins with a mass, and we have a social hour. Actually, it first begins with the rosary, and then we go into mass. And then we have social time for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then we have a speaker speaking on something usually very specific to the Catholic faith. And many good, prominent national Catholic speakers are hosted on Legatus platforms. And most of us have our bishops speak to our chapter at least once a year. And then we're done by 9 o'clock. And again, there's no fundraising because people are busy. People want to join up and sign up for another project to get into. So we respect all of that. We just tell you to plug in at your parish. But in Legatus, there's no special projects. And so when you come together as a forum in a small group, that's where you really have an opportunity to learn about how to be a better leader.
Can you share some of the speakers you have planned for upcoming chapter meetings?
I'd have to think about that for a moment. We just had a Catholic priest who played baseball at Notre Dame. He was our speaker. Again, our bishop is always one of our speakers. We've had Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers as one of our speakers before. Some of we've had Marcus Grodi before. Any of those that are on the Catholic speaking circuit, if we don't have them or haven't had them, it's only because we couldn't sync with their calendars.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Very, very good.
And sometimes we might have a local person speak, but in most cases, it's a prominent Catholic speaker.
It sounds very much, and Mike, maybe you've attended, but I know Ron has. We broadcast from our Catholic Business Network. It sounds quite similar to that.
Yeah, you should run into it, those, Mike.
Well, yes. I typically don't miss any of those, Ron. It's a great, in fact, Rodney Schuster and Rich Cronin got together, I think really inspired by creating an opportunity for a Legatus-like opportunity for those who might not qualify for Legatus.
Oh, okay.
So, typically to qualify for Legatus, you got to be in one of the highest positions of leadership in the company, and that company has to be a certain size, and that's not where the masses are. So that's why we created the Catholic Business Network, to give everybody a chance to come together, hear a good speaker, and ideally leave being a better Catholic about integrating your faith in your work.
And then, of course, we're seeing so many fruits as well when you think about how that kind of grew from that same idea. Then I think about young Catholic professionals and how that's still fairly new in our diocese. And this is a gathering of young Catholic professionals that are either business leaders or they work for companies. And this is a similar concept, right? This is all kind of based on the same, how do we build our faith and make an impact at the same time and help other people?
Yeah, and it's a great place for people who, for business leaders at any level, to be a mentor to some younger person who has an appetite to be a better Catholic and to advance in their career. So I just really want to underscore that for several of the companies that have been involved, it's been a great ROI for them, whatever they have invested, and what their return has been very good about what they can get out of it. And any young person who wants to be involved and be around like-minded people, who truly want to become better Catholics and integrate their faith life at work. YCP, Young Catholic Professionals, is where it is.
So, Mike, I'll just I'll role play here. I'm a young professional leader of a decent sized company. Very moderately Catholic. Don't attend Mass every Sunday, but would like to do more. I'm just too busy. And what would you say for somebody who's really struggling to make time? How do you convince that young professional that their faith life should come first, that they really should make time, and just like what you said, the benefits that could be reaped from making that lifestyle change?
So, Shayne, we could just kind of role play it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, take that role of that person. So you were just saying you're too busy. I would just ask you, do you have a faith life? Where do you go to church?
Hmm.
And I would want to learn more about that. If you're, even wherever you are on the journey, in other words, let's say you're kind of a nominal Catholic right now, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't light you up, or you've had a bad experience. Okay, but you still have an appetite to learn more about your faith.
Yep.
This is an opportunity to plug into a bunch of people that could make maybe some recommendations on other parishes that you would have a good experience at. And I would want to know, just tell me more about your background. Where do you go to church? What do you want to, why would you want to be in YCP? Or if you're too busy, what else are you doing? Mm-hmm. And I would just want to learn more about them and where they are on their faith journey.
So we've pretty much covered the bases, though. We've really talked about two, even though we're here to discuss Legatus. We've talked about another group of professionals that are, that do get together on a regular basis, even if it's through the Catholic Business Network. There are opportunities, regardless of that professional, that does need to find time to grow their faith.
So the Catholic Business Network, the CBN, the Catholic Business Network, one doesn't have to qualify for that.
Right.
I mean, Legatus you have to, but I would just encourage anybody to check out the Catholic Business. Even if you're not Catholic, it's a great place to come and just meet some like-minded Christian men and women.
Yeah.
So, it's a, Ron, you know all about it. You broadcasted from it many times. Dave Vatras has been one of our speakers there. Mm-hmm. It's a great opportunity just to network with some like-minded Christians, even if they're not Catholic. And sometimes we've had some Protestants who have come just to learn more about the Catholic faith, and they were very interested in a particular speaker. I mean, we've had some great speakers like Father John Ricardo, for example, Dave Vatras, for example, Rich Cronin, for example.
Yeah, it's been a stellar event, and of course, even if you just come for the free breakfast, you're going to benefit from that. And there's something about, if you feed them, they will come, which makes perfect sense. But then you present them with a speaker who inspires them, whether they came to be inspired or not. We know how the Holy Spirit works, which is much the same as how Legatus and other peer groups that come together. There's inspiration there. There's a holy appointment made that we don't know what our outcome is for that, or what, it's not like we set out to inspire somebody necessarily. The Holy Spirit does that work. It provides the setting, and it provides the camaraderie and the fellowship to be able to do that in a very meaningful way, and that can have a profound impact.
Yes, and you're right. I mean, it's all about the Holy Spirit, and sometimes He counts on us to get that work done for Him, right? And so that's why we have to preach the gospel. We have to take very seriously our roles as priest, prophet, and priest and prophet anyway. I don't know if we're king. We're sharing that with the blessed Lord.
Yeah, that's right. Mike McCartney, our guest here on Faith with Reasons, Mike McCartney Coaching.com, and of course legatus.org as we continue to learn about this fabulous organization. And now, Mike, there are a lot of challenges on businesses these days, especially for business owners and business leaders. You're employing people, you're providing services or goods to the general public, and there's always going to be a crisis or two. There's going to be some challenges that come your way. What do you think are the biggest challenges that business leaders face, and will that change as we look to the future?
I think one of the biggest challenges business leaders today face, and I'm talking about primarily those, I'll say at the top of the organization, because those are the clients, those are my clients. And the greatest challenge they face is to get people to talk to them straight, because it's difficult to tell a CEO, even if you're a COO or a vice president, what you really think about something. Too often, they're told what the individual thinks they want to hear, and but they can handle the truth. You know that line. You can't handle the truth. They can handle the truth, but sometimes the truth can be very elusive when you are a powerful business leader.
Does that seem to be exacerbated in any way, depending on the it seems to me there would be. I guess maybe I'm answering my own question. The type of business, maybe if the business, has a need on an outside appearance to be more secular because it fits in better to the world at this point in time.
Yeah, Shayne, I think most leaders could really up their game about integrating their faith in their work. Everybody seems to have this fear about getting too close to that line about, I can't be too preachy at work. And we talk about two things you don't want to ever talk about at work is religion and politics. I mean, yeah. Religion and politics are meaty subjects. They tell a lot about the individual. I can't think of anything more interesting to talk to someone about than their faith and their political beliefs. And I think leaders tend to stay away from that. And I think everybody could get a little bit closer to that line. No, people are, if you go too far, you'll know. Your boss will tell you, or you'll find out through just some feedback. But I think most people could really up their game about integrating their faith in their work.
And you would say, and I'm asking the coach in this particular case, you would say it's more of a fear that people are intimidated, that perhaps they don't want to go too far. They don't want to cross that line, so they tend to be more reserved. Is that correct?
I think that's right. I think they're worried about they can't cross the line. They'll get in trouble with HR. I say to heck with all of that.
Yeah.
In fact, a good way. Find out how far you can push it, and
test the waters
tactfully and respectfully. I mean, obviously, but no, not everybody is going to work at a place like Archbold Furniture or the Toledo Diocese or Annunciation Radio. But still, I think we are accountable to our Lord to preach the gospel always, and we have to do that with tact and respect. But that's why I say, asking people questions about what they believe, getting to know them is always a safe place to start.
Well, for me, it always brings a smile doing particularly a southbound trip on 75 when you get down to that Lima, Wapakoneta area where you've got that plastics business, the industry there. Oh, that's got the big cross on the side of the building that says Christ is the answer.
I know the guy that put it up. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, he has since passed. His name was Lawrence Bishop. It's Solid Rock Church. I think they're on the east side of 75. not far from Middleton, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati a little bit. I knew that guy. Yeah, his son was a rodeo buddy of mine.
Oh,
yeah, and he was a good guy. But I think there again, God bless him. You know, we got to spread the gospel. At the end of the day, that's what matters. And that individual, just by putting up that bold statue, I respect him for that. That became an icon across the country. Everybody knew about that place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Mike, what kind of advice would you give? In fact, let's make it the number one piece of advice that you might give for young Catholic professionals today.
Well, first of all, join YCP, join the Toledo chapter of Young Catholic Professionals, and then get a mentor. That's easily done. We have made it available to anybody who is in YCP to have a mentor, and those would be the two most important things I could say. Join YCP and get a mentor, someone that can help guide you on your career path and challenge you to be a better Catholic.
And you shouldn't have to look far to find a mentor if you're kind of plugged into the right sources, right?
Correct. And maybe we will provide a mentor inside the framework of YCP, but the individual could have a mentor already and not want to let go of that mentor. Great. We'll work with that relationship, and we can teach the mentee how to be a better mentee and get the most out of mentoring.
Very good, and YCP will try to match that person up. Correct. I mean, it's going to take the guesswork out of the individual.
That's correct. In fact, Shayne, we're going to have a workshop on mentoring July 16th.
Oh, okay.
And anybody who is interested in learning more about being a mentor or having a mentor should come to that workshop.
Wonderful. Now, does somebody have to register in advance, or do you have what information can you provide in case somebody?
It's probably on our website for the Toledo chapter of YCP, but it's going to be held at TFO, the family office, which is Cleves Delp business locally, right in Arrowhead Park. But Matt Pindoli would be the pivot point, the pivot person for young Catholic professionals. One of your fellow parishioners, I should say, Ron at St. Joseph Maumee. Our Father David Kidd is one of our chaplains, and that July 16th event at 7 p.m. in the evening will be on our website, and that would be a must for anybody who wants to learn more about mentoring or just more about YCP. I would highly recommend them coming to that event.
Yeah, and is that ycp.org or youngcatholicprofessionals.org? I haven't been to the website in a while.
I think I think the website is actually Young Catholic Professionals. Thank you.
Yeah,
.org.
Check that out. It's good to find out about that. And, of course, legatus.org to learn more about Legatus. And McCartneycoaching.com, that's the correct website for your business, right?
Yes, thank you.
And then we had to save some time to ask you about your pro rodeo days because, frankly, I'm very curious.
It's very interesting aspect of your bio here, so let's hear about it.
Well, at the very least, it's memorable. My clients remember me for that because, I was born and raised on a farm, raised horses, and I always just wanted to ride something that bucked. and once I got out of as I was leaving high school, I started rodeoing in high school, but especially by the time I was in college, I thought I really want to do this more competitively. So I rode at the college level, I rode at the amateur level, and then I rode at the professional level. and the events that I worked were the bull riding and the saddle bronc riding, and I loved them. If I could have convinced my wife that rodeoing was a good way of life, we'd be chasing one today.
Wow. So I have to, just a point of clarification, is actually a college sport, is at rodeo?
Yes, it's not NCAA. It's actually the National Intercollegiate Rodeo Association, because there's money involved.
Yeah.
So it couldn't fall, well, back in the day, it couldn't fall under NCAA rules. I don't know what
they've changed things
those
now.
rules are now with the NIL, right? But so many of the colleges in the West and the Southwest gives full scholarships for rodeo.
Wow.
You heard that, parents. So if you're looking for another opportunity for a scholarship.
I don't know if I would encourage rodeo, though. Would you encourage somebody today? I mean, it just seems pretty dangerous, is it not?
Well, it is. And back when I was rodeoing, we didn't wear helmets. And so none of my kids were active in the sport of rodeo. And as I look back, I mean, I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was a great thrill. But it has its dangers. And I've had a lot. I've had a number of concussions, broken bones, stitches, all that. So but it was a fun part of my life. It's where I was when I was a younger guy. And I promised my wife, as soon as the children started coming, I would quit rodeoing. So, but unfortunately, we were married for about 7 years without children, not by choice. So I kept rodeoing. And then once the children came, I stopped.
Wow. And really, that's really more dangerous than going into the football, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Mike McCartney, been a quick hour. Yeah. Thank you so much for all that you're doing and you're bringing to others, as well as you say, is our duty to spread the gospel. And Legatus, a great way to do that.
Well, I think Annunciation Radio is just a bold witness to the listening community about Catholicism. So thank you, Ron and Shayne, for what you are doing.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Mother Angelica is smiling from heaven.
Well, God bless you. Again, legatus.org, McCartneyCoaching.com, and go to YoungCatholicProfessionals.org. And of course, listen for the next Catholic Business Network breakfast event as well. Mike McCartney, thank you so much. Have a great day. And happy Independence Day.
God bless.
God bless.